Hello, thank you for joining Disability Rights Maryland today. My name is Arthi Sidhu and I'm a staff attorney here with our education unit. I'm here with my colleague Tasha Marshall, who's one of our senior paralegals. So today we're going to be talking about compensatory education services. And I just want to highlight that the education unit at Disability Rights Maryland has been doing some Facebook Live events every other Wednesday night at 6:30 p.m. to cover various topics around special education, the pandemic, and just trying to help families navigate this difficult time. We've also been releasing parent guides with those Facebook Lives to just have a resource for families to refer back to when they need specific information about certain topics. So today our topic will be compensatory education. I'm going to share our 5th parent guide with you all, and I'm going to turn it over to Tasha to get us started.
Awesome. So what is compensatory education? Compensatory education is special education and or related services that are owed to a student with disabilities as a result of the school system's failure to provide them with services in accordance with their individualized education program. And what we found is that compensatory education is not unique to the pandemic. A student may be entitled to compensatory education anytime the school system fails to provide them with services. And at this time, your child may be entitled to compensatory education as a result of services lost because of the shift to virtual learning during the pandemic-related school building closures.
So just to share a couple examples today, we have student A. Student A's IEP included 30 minutes of speech therapy a week, but student A did not receive this service for 3 months during the pandemic. And their skills also regressed as well in speech. They previously were speaking in complete sentences and now only 2 to 3 word phrases. So student A may be entitled to compensatory education services as a result of the school system's failure to implement their IEP. For student B, it looks a little different. It's not just a clear missed service that can be tracked. Student B is unable to access distance learning without in-person support, and as a result is unable to participate in classroom activities, various work assignments, and other related services when they're not physically in the school building. So now the building is reopened for hybrid, and the student's IEP is being implemented on days that they're in the school, but not on days that they're at home. So this is a student that still may be entitled to compensatory education services, but it's not just a clear list of missed services that's used to calculate that loss and that need for comp ed.
So when should you request compensatory education? Since so many students will likely need compensatory education, each local school system is beginning to develop a plan for how to address this issue on a system-wide basis. And so at the very least, the decision should not be made until there's enough information about the services your child did or did not receive, how your child did academically, functionally, socially, and behaviorally during time out of the school building, and how your child is doing once back in the school building on a full-time basis. So you may have to ask the school to collect data during the remaining period of the virtual learning and during the period of time following the school, the following return to the school buildings. And you can also use your own data collected during that virtual learning. And so if you believe that your students' services were not provided per the IEP, then you can request compensatory education. You can request compensatory education by way of requesting an IEP meeting to discuss those concerns. And Arthi will go ahead and discuss the piece related to how compensatory education is calculated.
So how compensatory education is calculated is not necessarily a one-to-one service. So we talked about student A earlier who missed speech services. Let's say student A missed 12 speech services for an hour each. That would total 12 hours. That student won't then be entitled to 12 hours of speech therapy. It's not likely going to be a one-to-one calculation. It's rather going to be a qualitative assessment of how things are going. So The school and the team will be looking at how your child was doing before school buildings closed, what happened during the pandemic, how did they do with virtual learning, how are they doing now that they may be back in the school building, and what services are needed to make up for those skills that your child lost during the pandemic. So the important thing here with how these services will be calculated is that it must be individualized. It must be based on your child's needs as an individual. It will not be a one-size-fits-all determination, and it will be based on your child's needs, their skills, their progress, their regression, and the data that's been collected by the team during this time.
So the next part of the guide is, what if my child's IEP team denies compensatory education to my child, or I disagree with the compensatory education offered to my child? In that case, you have a right to file a complaint with the Maryland State Department of Education about the violations that and the services that were refused in the IEP. The violations can reach back to 1 year from the date of the complaint. And so we at DRM, we filed a complaint on March 30th, 2021 on behalf of all students with disabilities in Maryland to preserve the right of students to ask for compensatory education back to March 30th, 2020. We also have drafted a sample complaint for parents and families to fill out if you believe your child's services were not provided, and that information can be found on our website. And you may also have the option of requesting mediation or filing a due process hearing as also. Sorry.
So yes, that sample complaint can be found on our website on the resources tab of our website under education. And along with that, you can find the copies of our other parent guides that we've created throughout the pandemic. You can also find our Facebook Lives on our Facebook page that we've recorded in the past. So definitely keep in touch. Let us know if you have any questions. And thank you so much for joining us today. We hope all is well.
Thank you. Take care.